Hello, this is Kathi Fleck with Growth Team Strategies, filling in for Doug Howard, our president. We have Matt Helminiak with us, who is a partner in some of our projects in his own business. So welcome, Matt. How are you doing today?
Excellent.
Great. Well, what we're going to be talking about is some of the aspects of selling the dream, getting ready for selling a business. And you and I have both sold businesses and have some expertise to share. So one of the things we want to talk about is how culture fits and how important that is in selling a business. So I know you have some expertise in that area.
So there's organizational cultures. There's a couple different angles to look at it from. When you're doing a roll-up or a merger, you're hoping that your culture and the other businesses that you're going to merge with have at least something in common. Like they have a similar philosophy of leadership or their values are in sync. You don't want to have two cultures that just don't mix, because it ends up somebody's going to be miserable one way or the other. Whoever's culture wins might be happy, and the people whose culture loses out are going to be miserable, and there's going to be resentment. So the hope, at least, is you have some sort of meshing of the cultures when you're combining your businesses. In our case, my father's company, he started it, and he had met the other guys that we ended up merging with over the years. They were part of an association, the Installation Contractors Association. So they had similar values of how they treated their employees, similar values of how they viewed their customers and a customer service standpoint. So there was a lot of time over many years that these guys got to know each other and understand how they viewed their businesses. So in our case, it was pretty seamless when we did the merger, because we all knew each other pretty well and got along pretty well. Then there's the idea of when you're getting acquired, what is the philosophy that the company that you're going to sell to or merge with, that second point, how do they view it? What do they want to do with it? And that's where it's a lot harder, because you're giving up your control when you sell the business. So you are being wined and dined by the people that want to acquire you, and they're telling you what their vision is and what they want to do with the company, and you're trusting them. And then it's like when your kid goes off to college or gets married, and you hand this baby off to these other people to do with what they want, and it's like, please treat her nice. I spent my life building this. Don't mess it up.
Mm-hmm.
And it's that point of like giving up control and handing it off it's a big leap of faith, because you built this business, these people that you've been counting on for your livelihood all these years, they're like your family, they're like your children. You're you feel a debt of gratitude to these people, and you don't want to mess it up by selling to somebody who's going to ruin what you built. So that's part of the process, is making sure that they're coming in to buy you, hopefully for a reason, not because they want to close you up and shut you down. They're buying you because of something, and you want to be able to have whatever the positive things that you had going continue after you leave or after you sell. And it's part of that that dance and vetting process as you go, hoping that your culture fits with what they want it to be. In our case, it worked out. I know lots of people that it didn't, but in our case, it was great. We really enjoyed the people that we ended up selling to. They were a good group of people.
Pretty much were already that large conglomerate, so the culture was probably stronger than somebody coming in and maybe wanting to make changes. But I have heard that, and even when I sold my business, it was not somebody who acquired us. It was really an individual who went through a broker and bought the company. But I was concerned about that too, is how is this person going to come along and take care of my team, or how are they going to take care of my clients? And I think some of my clients who were newer working with me were a little bit concerned when I did hand them over. But even when I talk to other business owners who are thinking of selling, that is a concern of theirs. And it's kind of like, like you said, it's our baby. So during that whole time we're building it, we really are hanging on to it, and it's kind of hard to let go sometimes.
And you have to put the communication out to your customers at some point too. And you got to say, look, we were acquired and things aren't going to change. Like, we're still going to be the same company. We might have a different name, But other than that, your service is going to be the same. You're still going to call us. Everything's going to be the same. Don't worry. And so you're trying to reassure your customers. Then you have to make the communication to your staff, because in our case, we didn't tell everybody what was happening. We didn't, and there's different philosophies on this, whether you tell your people during the process or just wait till the end. In our case, we didn't. I think our accounting people knew, but other than that, we didn't tell everybody what was coming. And so you have to have the communication with your staff and say, look, things are going to be different. At a certain point up, things are going to be different. For the rest of you guys, it's not going to change. Things are going to be the same. So you got to reassure your team that you're going to be there to take care of them still, and get over that initial anxiety. And then things are going to change. And most people are not fans of change.
Right.
And that change management, convincing people like, no, this is good, or God forbid, some things aren't great changes. So even though, like in our case, we had to change insurance companies because you're a national company, you could no longer have the insurance company we had couldn't cover us in different states. So we had to change insurance. Everybody is very sensitive when you're changing their medical insurance, because they have doctors that are in network that might not be in network anymore. They have kids that have certain coverage that they might lose. There's a lot of sensitivity, and that's just with the health insurance. We had to change our payroll pay date 2 days. That was 6 months of hell, just shifting our payroll check date 2 days. Because it's that, how do you change and how do you bridge people through that time of uncertainty? It's a lot of change management. And luckily, in our case, I was around after the sale, so I could help shepherd things through. But sometimes when you hand it off and walk away, as a business owner, unless you're leaving the state and changing your phone number, you're going to get the calls from your staff like, hey, you said it was not going to change, and here they're changing, and they'll rattle off all the things that they're not happy about. And what are you going to do? Because it's no longer your company. You don't have the choice.
I think that's a real mindset that people have to get to, because it just seems like in coaching business owners, and they're thinking of selling, that is the hardest thing to let go of. And I know for me, I was ready, but it was still difficult. And the new owner did confront me about not wanting to let go. But he had told me he wanted me to keep running it. As I asked him, what part do you want me to play? And he said, well, just keep doing it as you are. So when I did, then he didn't like it. And then, so we had some words on that. But then he had decided right away, he changed the logo, he changed the website. I mean, he was really making a lot of changes that I kind of thought were unnecessary, but it wasn't my call. But I did have a few clients call me because of some things. And, you have to kind of gingerly hand them back over to the new owner.
In our case, they changed our trucks. We had white trucks with our name on the side, nice and simple. They had us wrap all of our trucks in red. So we had now, instead of a truck that kind of blended into the background, we had the most recognizable trucks in all of construction. Turns out it was a great idea, because now everybody knows which trucks are ours. You go into a job site and you can spot your truck from 300 yards away. It made it so much easier. But at the time, I didn't like the color. I didn't like the wrap. I didn't like the design. And I was wrong. They were right.
And you can't do anything about it. And you just have to keep your mouth shut with it. But I do think it's really hard. I think going back to what you said earlier about it's your baby. And I think that's the biggest thing that's difficult for all of us to sell a business, is because we put so much of ourselves into it. It really is part of who we are. And then to be able to walk away, or some people say, well, I'll just keep part of it and keep my hands on it. And I think that's difficult too. So either way.
It's a lot like being a parent and having your kid go away to college. And you have to say to yourself, if I did a good job and they learned what I hoped it is they learned, they're going to be fine, because they've got values that are solid and hopefully are pretty resistant to whatever horrible outside influence they're going to run into. If you did a good job building your company and you have a strong organizational culture, the people are clear on what their mission is, they know what to do every day, they know why they're here, they know how to treat a customer the right way. Those things are very difficult to have someone else mess up. The power of inertia is probably the most powerful force in the universe. If things are going in a certain direction and your culture is functional and works, it's going to probably stay that way, and it's going to be hard to change. But on the other hand,
hopefully
if it's
the
dysfunctional,
mm-hmm.
they're going to have to fix it. They didn't buy it because they want to lose money. They're buying it because they saw some value in it. And if they want to change the way they do the calculations for stuff or change the way they do the payroll, it's theirs to change.
Mm-hmm.
And you just have to hope that your values still are there. Little things might change. The colors on the logo might change. The name might change. But your customers that you've built relationships with, they're still going to have the same kind of treatment from what new business name or color there is. Mm-hmm. Their experience with the business isn't going to change if you did a good enough job.
Mm-hmm. Especially if you're buying a larger business like the one that you sold, is that it was much stronger. When I think about that in comparison to my small business with a handful of employees, less than 10 employees, and then somebody new coming in and making changes, I think that person probably had a little bit more say-so in keeping or not keeping the culture. So, but it is something that I think we do need to be concerned about as we consider selling, and hopefully vetting those who are potential buyers so that you're finding the one that does best fit with your company so that it can continue. But like you said, not everybody can follow suit with that. So, well, thank you, Matt. I appreciate the opportunity to have you here today. And as people are thinking about selling their business, it's always really a good idea to consider all the different obstacles we might be running into so you can be prepared. So thanks so much. Have a great day.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Thank you for listening to the Selling the Dream podcast starring Doug Howard and Kathi Fleck. Both Doug and Kathi have built and sold successful businesses and hope this podcast will help other small business owners do the same. Tune in every week to hear more tips for increasing the value of your company so you get the highest return for your years of hard work when it comes time to sell or transition your business. Can't wait till next week? Check out our website for more information at www.growththemes.com.